Wait, so the Steelers really just hit the reset button, and the very next move could decide whether this whole era becomes legendary or collapses instantly. Because hiring Mike McCarthy is one thing, but the next hire, the defensive coordinator, that's the one that could make the Steelers a Super Bowl threat immediately or keep them stuck in the same frustrating loop. Before we get into it, smash that like button, share this with a Steelers fan, and subscribe for more Steelers content every week. Happy Conference Championship Sunday, Steelers Nation. And yeah, it still stings saying that while watching everyone else play in the biggest games of the year. Because deep down, every single one of us knows the truth. Pittsburgh should be there. Pittsburgh expects to be there. And now, with Mike McCarthy officially stepping in as the new head coach, the conversation has completely changed. Some fans are pumped. Some fans are furious. Some fans don't even know what to feel yet. And honestly, that's fair. But whether you love this hire or hate it, it's done. It's official. It's real. And now the only question that matters is this. Can Mike McCarthy build a staff strong enough to bring the Steelers back to championship football? Because here's the key. The Steelers already have a foundation. This roster isn't some empty rebuild project. This team has been winning games, stacking double-digit win seasons, and reaching the playoffs consistently. The problem isn't effort. The problem isn't culture. The problem is that the edge disappeared. The schemes felt predictable. The adjustments felt late. And way too often, it looked like Pittsburgh was surviving off talent alone, instead of dominating with a system. So if McCarthy comes in and actually upgrades the coaching staff around him, the Steelers could look like a completely different monster. And no hire matters more than who he picks to run the defense. Let me ask you something real quick. If the Steelers get the right defensive coordinator, are we looking at the start of a contender again? Because Pittsburgh's defense isn't just good. It's built to be elite. You've got TJ. What? The kind of player who can hijack an entire game plan by himself. You've got Alex Highsmith coming off the edge with him. You've got Cameron Hayward still setting the tone inside, and Derek Harmon helping stack up that front with power. This unit has pieces. Real pieces. And when you invest that much money, that much experience, and that much star power into a defense, you don't do it because you want to finish 10th in the league. You do it because you want to be top 5, top 3. The kind of defense that makes quarterbacks miserable and makes playoff games feel like street fights. Because let's keep it 100. If the Steelers want a real shot at the Super Bowl next season, especially with the uncertainty at quarterback, the defense has to carry a huge part of the load. And yes, quarterback names are already getting thrown around. Aaron Rodgers is being linked to Pittsburgh, and even Art Rooney too has publicly kept the door open. Rodgers may not be MVP Rodgers anymore, but he's still experienced, still smart, and still capable of running an offense if you put the right weapons around him. But even with Rodgers, you're not winning a title unless your defense is terrifying. Just look at the final teams standing every year. The ones still alive in January aren't just fun offenses. They're balanced, nasty, and built to win ugly. So for McCarthy, the defensive coordinator hire isn't some side quest. It's the main mission. Because here's what history shows us. When McCarthy has the right defensive coordinator, his teams win big. The best example, Dallas. His first defensive coordinator there didn't work out. But then he made the move to bring in Dan Quinn, and suddenly the Cowboys became a consistent 12-win team. That's what happens when an offensive-minded head coach finds the right defensive partner. And Pittsburgh needs that same lightning-in-a-bottle decision right now. So let's go through the defensive coordinator candidates that should be on the Steelers' radar, starting with the ones who have potential ties to McCarthy, and then getting into the outsiders who could be the most exciting options of all. Because trust me, some of these names would completely change what Steelers football looks like next year. First up, Carl Scott. Carl Scott is currently the defensive passing game coordinator and defensive backs coach for the Seattle Seahawks. And this name might not be household yet, but Steelers fans should pay attention. Because if you've watched what Seattle's secondary has been doing, you already know. They're physical, they're disciplined, and they're modern in how they attack the pass. And that's the key word, modern. The Steelers have been begging for modern defensive ideas for years. The league keeps evolving, and the teams still running flexible, aggressive structures are the teams giving offenses nightmares. Carl Scott would likely bring that big nickel, hybrid-heavy style that's taken over the league, the kind of defense built to survive against elite quarterbacks and spread offenses. That type of scheme could fit Pittsburgh perfectly, especially if you want to maximize all the athletic talent on this roster. And Carl Scott has already been a real candidate around the league. Reports have him interviewing for coordinator jobs. So yeah, he's not some random assistant. He's a real rising name. Next up, Al Harris. This is a name Steelers fans might know because Al Harris has been climbing the coaching ladder for a while now, and he's already been getting defensive coordinator interviews. And if Harris becomes the guy, get ready for a defense that plays angry, aggressive press coverage, man-heavy concepts, pressure packages designed to force mistakes, the kind of defense where quarterbacks don't get comfortable, they get hunted. And that could be a serious vibe shift from what Steelers fans have watched recently. Because for all the talent Pittsburgh has had, the defense hasn't consistently felt like it was dictating the game. Al Harris could absolutely bring that edge back. Now, here's another fascinating one. Joe Witt Jr. Joe Witt Jr. is one of those guys who's been around for years, and he's got that reputation as a respected defensive mind. The idea here is simple. He's experienced, he knows the league, and he understands what it takes to build a staff that communicates and develops players. McCarthy needs a defensive coordinator who can completely own that side of the ball, because McCarthy is going to be focused on fixing the offense. And Witt would bring that steady hand feel. Not flashy, not trendy, but potentially reliable. Now let's talk about Leslie Frazier. Leslie Frazier is a longtime defensive coordinator and former head coach, and currently part of Seattle's coaching staff. Frazier's style has historically leaned into smart coverage structures, more split safety looks, more keep everything in front, more control. Some fans will love that because it can create consistency. Other fans will hate it because Steelers Nation loves pressure, violence, and chaos. But here's the upside. Frazier knows how to organize a defense. And if the Steelers want stability with veteran leadership, that matters. Now, Patrick Graham. Patrick Graham is one of the most adaptable defensive minds in the league. The biggest thing with Graham is that he doesn't run one system like it's a religion. He adjusts based on the roster. And that right, there is something Steelers fans have been screaming for. Stop forcing the same plan no matter what. Stop pretending every week is the same matchup. Stop living and dying by predictable looks. With Graham, you'd likely get flexibility, multiplicity, a defense that's built to attack weaknesses. And with a roster like Pittsburgh's, that could be scary. Next, let's hit another name with ties, Jason Simmons. Jason Simmons is currently with Washington and has been respected around the league for years. The big selling point here is he knows aggressive systems, and he's part of that modern wave of defenses that want to dictate terms, not just react. And there's also something poetic about the idea of a former Steeler returning to help lead the defense. That storyline writes itself. But now, let's move to the most exciting part of this conversation, the candidates who don't need a McCarthy connection. Because great head coaches don't just hire their friends, they hire the best people available. And McCarthy has shown he's willing to bring in outside minds when it makes sense. So if Pittsburgh truly wants to level up, these next names are the ones that could turn this defense into something special. And it starts with a big one, Raheem Morris. Raheem Morris is one of those coaches that players love. And when you hear players talk about him, it's not generic praise, it's real respect. If McCarthy is trying to build his own version of the offense head coach plus elite defensive coordinator formula, Morris fits the blueprint perfectly. And you know what else makes Morris interesting? He's already been a head coach before, which means the odds of him getting instantly poached for another head coaching job later might be lower than a younger hotshot coordinator. That matters, because you don't want to hit gold at defensive coordinator just to lose him after one season. You want a guy who can build something and keep it stable. Morris could be that. Now, here's the one that might be the most exciting name on this entire list, Durant Jones. Durant Jones is currently part of the Minnesota Vikings defensive staff under Brian Flores. And if you've watched that defense, you already know it's chaos in the best way. Disguises before the snap, rotations after the snap, blitzes from places you didn't even know existed. That defense doesn't just stop you, it confuses you. And the wild part is, Flores has openly credited assistants like Durant Jones for elements of what makes the system work. Jones has already been getting coordinator interviews. So again, not a random name, a real candidate. And if Pittsburgh wants to become one of those defenses that quarterbacks fear, This is the kind of hire that could do it. All right, question of the day, and I need you to answer this in the comments. Do you want the Steelers to go all in on an aggressive, blitz-heavy modern defense? Or do you want a safer coordinator who focuses on stability and preventing big plays? Drop your answer below, and tell me the one coordinator you'd hire if it was your decision. Because Steelers Nation is split right now. Some fans want the defense to become a pressure machine again. Some fans want discipline and consistency. And honestly, both sides have a point. Next name, Jim Leonhard. Leonhard has been respected for years, and his defenses have been known for being technically sound, physical, and smart with coverage rules. If Pittsburgh wants a coordinator who can modernize without turning the defense into a gambling addiction, Leonhard could be that middle ground. He's the type of coach who can raise the floor and still create an edge. Then there's Anthony Weaver. Weaver has been mentioned in serious coaching circles, and he's been involved in high-level interviews, including being connected to Pittsburgh's hiring process. Weaver brings energy, leadership, and modern ideas. And sometimes, that matters more than people admit. Because a defense isn't just plays, it's communication, buy-in, toughness, and how quickly players adjust when the offense changes things. Weaver could command that respect fast. Now let's talk Aubrey Pleasant. Pleasant has been a strong defensive backs coach with a reputation for development. And if you want to win in today's NFL, you have to develop defensive backs. Not just sign them, not just draft them, develop them. Because every offense is throwing 35 times a game, and the playoffs are basically a weekly test of whether your secondary can survive. Pleasant would be a smart hire if the Steelers want to level up coverage ability and back-end discipline. And finally, Nick Rallis. Nick Rallis is one of those young mastermind candidates that coaches around the league quietly rave about. Modern match coverages, smart spacing rules, defenses that look simple but play complex. Rallis would be the kind of hire that makes people go, "Oh wow, Pittsburgh is trying to get ahead of the league." And that might be exactly what the Steelers need. Because the NFL doesn't wait for you to catch up. You either evolve or you get past. So where does all this leave us? It leaves us with the biggest truth of the entire Steelers offseason. Mike McCarthy's success in Pittsburgh will be tied directly to his defensive coordinator choice. If he nails it, this could feel like the start of something real. This could be the spark that turns the Steelers into a January powerhouse again. But if he misses, if he hires a safe name with stale ideas, then we're just doing the same thing all over again, wasting elite defensive talent while watching other teams play for championships. And Steelers Nation is not going to tolerate that. Because this isn't some franchise that celebrates almost. This is Pittsburgh. This is Lombardi's. This is defense. This is playoff football. So if I had to pick one name out of everyone we talked about, the guy I'd be most excited about is Durant Jones. Because if you want the Steelers defense to become top 5, even top 3, you need creativity. You need disguised pressure. You need modern coverage solutions. You need a coordinator who isn't afraid to attack. And the best part, this roster is already loaded with the kind of talent that can make that style of defense absolutely terrifying. So now it's on Mike McCarthy. Welcome to Pittsburgh, coach. This fan base is loud. This city is demanding. And this roster is ready. The only question now is, who's going to run the defense? Because that decision could determine everything. Let me know your pick in the comments, Steelers Nation. And if you're ready for the next step of this offseason, stay tuned. Because the offensive coordinator conversation is coming next. Here we go, Steelers.